You want the truth on getting 100% VA disability, and I'm gonna give it to you. So if you get offended easily, this is not the video for you. Straight up, not joking. Every single veteran needs to fully understand what we're about to talk about. There is no secret hack, there is no secret trick or linchpin claim like tinnitus that's gonna get you 100%. There's not a way to fake the VA and get one over them. And if you do, you're going to get the fraud hammer and you're going to pay back and go to prison. But there is one thing, and there's only one thing without a doubt that will get you 100% VA disability. All truth, nothing but the truth. I hope you can handle the truth. The only thing, that one thing is that gets you 100% VA disability is when you are service connected for disabilities that add up to 100%, which is really 95%. And I know you're saying, well, duh, we know that. But now, instead of looking at getting 100%, you have to look at how to get service connected for disabilities, because that's the only way to get 100% is to be service connected. That's it. There's no other way to get 100%. There are three things that lead to service connection, and there are only these three. Nothing else. No claims company, no lawyer, no amount of VSOs. It's just what I call the big three. That's it. Now, I'm going to explain the big three, because if you are missing any of these three, you will be denied. You must have all three for every single claim. Now, the first one is the in-service event, and I'm going to translate that for you in normal people talk. And the in-service event just means evidence from service. Now, notice how I use the word evidence, because it's not hearsay, not because you feel like it came from service. I said evidence. Now, starting with the obvious is having medical evidence, which is very strong. When a veteran has a diagnosed condition in service and it's in their service treatment records, that is pretty much a slam dunk claim. Now, there are some other nuances here, but 99% of everyone who has a diagnosis in their service treatment records are going to be service connected. Now, how many veterans have a diagnosis in their records, right? Like, who goes to medical all day, every day? You don't want to be that guy or that gal. However, even a one-liner complaint in your annual health assessments, pre or post-deployment health assessments, your exit exam, anything in your medical records that could lead to a diagnosis of the claim condition in the future is absolutely solid evidence. And again, yes, there are some other nuances, and I'm going to talk about one of them that's most common. So if you had a one-liner complaint or even a diagnosis back in 1984 for migraines, and you left service in 1985, and from that day, 1985, all the way to right now it's August 9th, 2024, when I'm recording this. If you did not complain at all, you never sought treatment, nothing, and you submit a claim for that for migraines, the VA will deny you based on continuity of symptoms, not continuity of care. It's continuity of symptoms, and continuity is a little difficult to overcome, but it's not impossible. You need to find other ways other than medical to show the continuity, right? So that leads us to, we're still in the in-service event, evidence from service. That leads us to evidence other than medical, which is still the in-service event. Yes, medical evidence is strong, but there is something called evidence other than medical, and straight up, you need to understand this, okay? It's not a slam dunk claim. Medical evidence is king, and evidence other than medical will work. It will be service connected, but it's certainly not easy. You need to understand that if you have a lack of medical evidence, you are fighting an uphill battle. I know everyone on YouTube wants to say you're going to be service connected, just do a statement. And I'm telling you, it might work depending on what your other evidence is. But for the most part, if you do not have medical evidence, you can be service connected, but you are fighting an uphill battle, which tells me veterans really who fall in the evidence other than medical, you really need to take the time to get your evidence other than medical in order to show that your claim condition did, in fact, stem from your military service. An example of this, and I'm going to use, I won't use names here. I was helping a veteran who dealt with PTSD due to military sexual trauma, so MST, which, by the way, was a horrible story. And if that's you dealing with MST, I mean, that sucks. There's really no way to put it. But this veteran had zero medical evidence, never reported the issue, which is in most cases of MST. But when what we did find was she was in the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps has these things called FIT reps, which is an annual report of how good of a Marine you are. Now, looking at her FIT reps, there was a very steep, very noticeable, very obvious decline in this Marine's performance at work, and those dates correlated with her reported dates on her statement and all the other hearsay evidence within that statement. Those dates lined up, and the person who conducted the MST was in her unit, okay? So you can see how evidence other than medical can really allow the VA. It allows the VA to say, hey, maybe this condition did stem from service. We need to investigate this a little more. Boom, you have your CMP exam. There we go. That's the in-service event, which is critical, right? In my opinion, the in-service event is the biggest piece of the big three, because without the in-service event, it doesn't matter what your diagnosis is, the nexus can't be established. You must have evidence from service. And if you're sitting there saying, well, I got my claim approved and I didn't have evidence from service, I promise you there's evidence from service. You just may not know about it, okay? Next up is a current diagnosis. Now, this one's easy. It is a two-parter here, but it's easy. One, you have to be diagnosed. If you are not diagnosed, there is no claim. I don't care what your evidence from service says. I don't care if you went and bought a baloney private nexus. If you do not have a diagnosed condition, there's no claim. Yes, the CMP examiner can technically diagnose you for VA rating purposes, not healthcare purposes, but they're very reluctant to do that, which is why I always recommend veterans, seriously, get the diagnosis prior to submitting that claim. But technically speaking, can you use treatment records? So if you're going to the VA, you know VA healthcare is very reluctant or hesitant to diagnose. In that instance, if that's your only avenue to healthcare and evidence, yes, you can use your treatment records for that, which is solid evidence, and yes, that will work. Now, your treatment records, you can just download your VA medical records, Control F, SCT together, capital S, capital C, capital T. Those are treatment codes, and that's how you can find your evidence in your VA medical records. It's super easy, and I'm going to pin a video below that walks you step by step how to actually find your diagnosis. And the last piece here is the nexus. The nexus does not exist. I don't care how much money you pay someone, okay? The nexus cannot exist if you don't have evidence from service and a current diagnosis. Simple. The nexus, foundation of the nexus, is the evidence from service and the current diagnosis. If you don't have those two, there is no nexus, period, point blank. The DBQ is the foundation because it ropes your service treatment records and all your other records, and it shows you your diagnosis and the ICD codes there on the DBQ. The DBQ becomes the foundation of the nexus. And that's it. The point of this video is to show you the big three. If you're missing any of those, you will be denied. And the most important one is evidence from service. I cannot stress that enough. You must have evidence from service. You're going to have an easier time if it's medical. You're going to have a harder time if it's not medical. But yes, you can be service connected. And when those add up to 95%, you will be 100%. And if those conditions are static, right? You have that chronic condition that is static, at 95%. That's how you get 100% P&T. There's no hack. You have to go through the process. There's only one process. You can complain about it all you want. You can complain about VSOs. You can complain about companies. You can complain about lawyers. The end result's not going to change. You must have evidence to reach 100%, and that's it. There's no shortcut to 100% VA disability.